Ladies and gentlemen, success does not knock. It waits for the one who rises before the rest. Every time you hit snooze, you are choosing delay over discipline. Every time you sleep through your morning, you are surrendering your momentum before the day has even begun. You want power? Then you better meet the day before it meets you. Let me be clear. Defeat begins in bed. If you can't beat the comfort of your blanket, how do you expect to beat the challenges of the world? Your first hour is not just a routine. It is a ritual of power. The mind, sharpest in the early hours, is your greatest tool. And yet, most throw it away on laziness, on scrolling, on snoozing, on nothing. Not you. Not anymore. Winners don't wait for the day to start. They start the day on their terms. They rise while others dream. They plan while others sleep. And they move while others wish. If you want to be in control of your life, then take control of your morning. Let me say this with no softness. If you lack discipline when you wake, you will lack discipline in your work, in your goals, and in your life. Discipline is built with the sunrise. Procrastination has no place in the morning of a leader. Purpose wakes early. Purpose doesn't beg for 5 more minutes. It demands action. Every day you wake early, you declare war on weakness. You declare war on excuses. You declare war on the average. You don't need 100 strategies. You need to own your morning. Because when you own your morning, you own your mind. And when you own your mind, nothing can stop you. So tomorrow, don't just wake up. Rise with fire. Rise with clarity. Rise like everything you want depends on it, because it does. Wake up early. Start your day right. Conquer your life. Thank you. Defeat is not some grand failure that shows up in your life one day. It is built quietly, consistently, and invisibly in your daily habits and the small choices that seem harmless. And one of the most dangerous choices of all happens before your feet even touch the ground. It happens when the alarm rings and you choose comfort over conquest. That bed you lie in, it is not just a place of rest. It can be a trap, a silent enemy. A soft, warm prison disguised as peace. And when you hit snooze, you are not delaying a few minutes of wakefulness. You are delaying your greatness. You are giving in. You are practicing surrender. Every morning is a battle. It's you against the version of yourself that wants to stay the same, that version that craves ease, warmth, delay. But success belongs to the one who dominates that moment, the one who feels the resistance and rises anyway. Because rising early is not about time, it's about power. It's about owning your day before it begins. It's about choosing the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. In that moment when your eyes open, your future is being negotiated. And most people lose that negotiation by default. They think 5 more minutes won't hurt. But 5 more minutes turns into a pattern. Patterns turn into identity, and identity shapes your destiny. Do you really think champions wake up by accident? Do you think leaders, innovators, high achievers roll out of bed when they feel like it? No. They rise before they feel ready, because they know the world doesn't wait. Opportunities don't wait. Greatness doesn't wait. The bed is where you train yourself to win or lose. It is not about the bed itself. It's about who you become in those first moments of the day. Do you listen to weakness? Do you obey comfort? Or do you rise like a soldier? Do you rise like someone who has something to prove, not to others, but to yourself? When you wake up early, you claim territory in your life. You buy time that others are wasting. You stack the hours in your favor. You train your mind that you are in control, not your feelings, not your fatigue, not your fears. You teach your body that discipline is the ruler now, that you move because you decided to. Not because it feels good, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Think about how most people start their day. Rushed, reactive, distracted. They wake up too late, panic to get ready, and throw themselves into chaos. That's not living, that's surviving. That's scrambling. That's weakness disguised as normalcy. And if you live like that long enough, you start to think that's all life has to offer. But when you rise early, on purpose, with intention, you separate yourself from the pack. You create silence before the noise. You give yourself space to plan, to train, to reflect, to set the tone. That tone echoes throughout your entire day. If your morning is strong, your decisions are stronger. Your focus is clear. Your energy is aligned. You've already won before the world gets out of bed. This is not about waking up at a specific hour. It's about dominating your first decision, because when you dominate the first, the second is easier. Momentum is real. It builds. One good hour turns into a productive morning. A productive morning becomes a focused afternoon. A focused afternoon becomes a fulfilling evening. That is how champions live. That is how winners operate. There is a reason the most successful people on the planet guard their mornings with obsession. Because they know that success does not come to those who are available to everything and committed to nothing. It comes to those who control their time, who defend their schedule, who treat their morning like sacred ground. So the next time the alarm goes off and you hear that little voice telling you to stay in bed, understand this: that voice is not you. That is the enemy. That is mediocrity whispering sweet lies. That is fear dressed as comfort. That is weakness begging for just one more win, and every time you listen, you train your mind to fold under pressure. But every time you reject it and rise, you build a new identity, a stronger identity. One that says, I don't bow to laziness. I don't follow my feelings, I follow my mission. People want to talk about motivation, inspiration, hustle. But none of that matters if you can't win the morning, if you can't win the first fight of the day. There are no shortcuts. There are no secrets. There is only one truth. You either rise or you remain the same. You either conquer your comfort or you become its servant. The bed may be warm, but your dreams are on the other side of discipline. Get up, stand up, show up before the world is even watching. That is how you separate from the average. That is how you build an unshakable mind. That is how you conquer your life. One morning at a time. The first hour of your day is not a warm-up. It's not a casual stretch before the real work begins. It is the battlefield where your mental state, your focus, your drive, and your future are either forged or forgotten. The moment you wake up, you're not just opening your eyes. You are stepping into a fight for control, for clarity, for command over the hours that follow. Most people don't understand this. They stumble into their morning like it's just another part of life. But those who lead, those who dominate, those who win, they guard their first hour like it's sacred, because it is. The way you spend your first hour determines what kind of person you will be for the next 23. It sets the rhythm, the tone, and the tempo. You either start strong or you start slipping. There is no neutral. You are either rising or decaying. When you begin your day reacting to the world, emails, messages, distractions, you give away your power before you've even had a chance to use it. You surrender your control to noise, to urgency, to other people's demands. You spend the rest of the day chasing, not creating, surviving, not thriving. That's the life most people live, and they wonder why they feel stuck. But when you take command of your first hour, everything changes. You step into your day with clarity, with fire, with intention. You move with purpose because you've already won where it counts, inside your own mind. You've trained your thoughts, set your direction, fueled your discipline before the world even has a chance to interrupt. That's not just a good habit, that's a weapon. Most people treat their morning like it's optional, like it's flexible, like it doesn't matter, but your mind is sharpest when you first wake. Your willpower is highest. Your ability to think clearly, to focus deeply, to make decisions that matter, that's all at its peak in that first window. If you waste it scrolling, sleeping in, or doing things that require no effort and deliver no growth, you're throwing away your best ammunition. You're stepping onto the field of life with no armor and no plan. And when chaos hits, and it always does, you're too weak to respond with power. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you rise to the level of your preparation. Your first hour is the training ground. That's where you prepare your mind for war, where you align yourself with your goals, where you remind yourself who you are and why you're here. It's not the place for comfort, it's not the place for indecision. It's the place where vision is reinforced and weakness is rejected, where the standard is raised and excuses are destroyed. That's where you build your edge. That's where you separate from the pack. If you want to be unstoppable, then you must become intentional with how you begin. Don't just wake up. Rise up. Don't just move through your morning. Command it. Speak your goals aloud. Move your body. Train your mind. Breathe in focus and breathe out doubt. Control your inputs. Set your pace. Refuse to allow random distractions to enter. Be deliberate. Be fierce. Be unshakable. Because how you show up in that first hour is how you will show up in every conversation, every challenge, every decision. Winners build power early. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for motivation. They generate it. They don't ask the world for direction. They create their own. They understand that the first hour is not a warm-up for greatness. It is greatness in motion. Every page read, every rep done, every moment of stillness, every line written, every thought directed with precision, that is fuel for your mission. It sharpens your mind like a blade, and a sharpened mind cuts through distraction, resistance, and doubt with ease. You don't get to have high performance without high standards. You don't get to feel powerful without putting in the work that builds it, and the first hour is where that work begins. It's where you prove to yourself that you're serious, not just once in a while, but every single day. Consistency is the soil in which power grows. Now, if you want to grow into the kind of person who gets results, commands respect, and executes relentlessly, you must treat your first hour like gold. There are no secrets. There are no shortcuts. Just you, your choices, and the clock. What you do in that first hour determines if the rest of the day is built with momentum or dragged by mediocrity. Do not confuse movement with progress. Do not confuse waking up with showing up. There is a difference between being awake and being alive. If you want to lead your life, not just live it, then you must start by leading your morning. The world doesn't give power freely. It rewards the prepared. It rewards those who claim control early. You either take charge of your first hour or it takes charge of you. You either build power or you bleed it. The choice is yours every single morning. Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who wake with purpose, move with speed, and act before the rest of the world even lifts its head. While others are still tangled in dreams, the successful are already executing. They aren't waiting for inspiration, motivation, or permission. They're not hoping the day goes their way. They're making sure it does. The morning is not just a time of day. It is a window of power. And the successful treat it like sacred ground because they understand one truth most people ignore. How you start determines how you finish. The first few hours are not background noise. They are the launch pad. And if you don't launch with force, your entire day drags with resistance. Mediocre people wait. They wait for clarity. They wait for the right mood. They wait for the sun to rise, for their phone to buzz, for someone else to tell them what to do. They let the world dictate their tempo. And in doing so, they give up control. Successful people refuse to operate like that. They seize the morning because they know it is the only time of day where the world is still quiet enough to hear their own thoughts, where they can move freely before distractions start attacking. To dominate the morning is not about waking up early for the sake of it. It's about commanding the most valuable untapped space in the day. When your energy is fresh, when your mind is clear, when your willpower is highest, that's when you strike. That's when you do the deep work, the hard thinking, the focused planning that average people never get to. Because by the time they start, they're already overwhelmed, already behind, already reacting. The successful don't wake up and look at their phones. They wake up and look in the mirror at the person they are becoming. They don't open apps. They open their schedule, their journal, their goals. They don't check notifications. They check their mission. There is nothing passive about it. It is a deliberate, aggressive approach to life. It is the mindset of a hunter. Not someone who waits to be fed, but someone who goes out and takes what is theirs. People wonder how the elite always seem so ahead, how they manage time so well. The answer is simple. They own their morning. They use the early hours to gain a lead that others can't catch up to. While the rest are still wiping sleep from their eyes, the successful have already completed more than most do by noon. They've trained, they've read, they've mapped their priorities, and now they are executing with clarity while others are scrambling to get started. Domination is not loud. It is not chaotic. It is precise. And that's exactly what the morning gives. the stillness and silence required for deep precision. This is why the morning belongs to those who are serious. Because no one else wants it. No one else wants to fight fatigue and override the comfort of the bed. But those who do gain an edge that cannot be bought, copied, or handed down, it must be earned. When you dominate the morning, you don't need to chase the day. It follows your command. You don't worry about being busy. You're focused on being effective. And you're not playing defense. You're executing an offense built on clarity, confidence, and momentum. This is how winners move. Not by reacting to life, but by preparing for it before it starts. Excuses don't exist in the early hours. Either you rise and move with power, or you stay soft and surrender to weakness. That moment when the alarm rings, that's the test. That's the fight. Not against the bed, against the part of you that wants to stay the same, the part that's addicted to comfort, to ease, to mediocrity. And every time you ignore that voice and get up with fire, you become stronger. You start building a different identity, one built on discipline, one built on purpose, one that can't be stopped. You will never meet a truly successful person who starts their day with randomness, passivity, or hesitation. They may have different routines, but the one thing they share is ownership. They own their morning like a general owns the battlefield. Every move is intentional, every second is used, every thought is aligned with their outcome. This is how results are built. This is how consistency is forged. This is how legacies are created. The unsuccessful look at time as something to spend. The successful look at time as something to invest. And there is no better investment than your morning. That is where your RL is greatest. That is where the compound effect begins. Not in some big decision years down the road, but in the small, brutal, quiet decision to wake up and move with purpose while the rest of the world is still asleep. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It's not coming. The perfect moment is when you decide to take control. That moment is always in the morning. And those who claim it, who guard it, who dominate it, those are the ones who shape their future with intention, not luck. Destiny isn't written in a moment of inspiration. It's built in the silence of the early hours, when no one is watching, when the world is still asleep, and it's just you versus every excuse that's ever held you back. What you do in that space, when you wake, defines everything that follows. That's where the real battles are fought, not on the stage, not in front of an audience, but in the dark, cold, quiet morning when it would be easier to stay in bed, easier to delay, easier to be average. Discipline doesn't start with big moments. It begins with simple decisions. And the most important decision of your day is the first one. Will you rise with purpose, or will you fall into comfort? Every morning, that choice is yours. The alarm goes off, and in that instant, you are at a crossroads. Get up and move forward, or stay where you are and fall behind. That's not just a moment, it's a pattern. And patterns shape character. Character shapes decisions. Decisions shape destiny. The people who achieve the extraordinary are not more talented, more connected, or more lucky. They are simply more disciplined, especially when it matters most. And when does it matter most? When the rest of the world is silent. When it's early. When there's no pressure, no spotlight, no cheering. That's where the foundation is laid. That's where you prove to yourself what kind of person you are becoming. Discipline in the morning is not about punishment, it's about preparation. It's about taking command before the world has a chance to push you off course. It's about building mental armor, because when you start the day on your terms, deliberately, with precision, you carry that strength into everything else. You eat better, you think clearer, you move with confidence. Why? Because you've already won the first battle, and that victory sets the tone for the rest of your life. People wait for motivation. The disciplined don't wait, they build. They don't care how they feel, they care what they've committed to. Motivation is fleeting. Emotion is unstable. Discipline is the anchor. And if you want to anchor your life to something unshakable, start with your morning. Train yourself to act before you feel ready. Move before you're comfortable. Execute even when you don't want to. That's discipline. And discipline is the first brick in the foundation of every dream you'll ever build. When you train discipline early, Everything becomes easier later. Not because the path gets smoother, but because you get stronger. Your tolerance for resistance increases. Your ability to stay focused under pressure expands. You don't react, you respond. You don't drift, you direct. And that ability to command yourself, that's where power lives. Not in how fast you move once things are in motion, but in how fast you start when it's hard, when it's cold, when it's quiet, when no one else is doing it. Morning discipline is a mirror. It reflects your values, your standards, your seriousness. If you say you want greatness, but you can't keep a promise to yourself at 5 a.m., then you don't want it bad enough. If you say you want to lead, but you can't even lead yourself out of bed, your words mean nothing. Discipline is the proof. It's the evidence that your vision isn't just talk. It's backed by action, daily, relentlessly, especially when no one else is watching. People talk about freedom, but true freedom is not doing whatever you want. It's the power to do what you must, even when it's hard. Discipline is freedom. And morning discipline is the first form of that freedom. It's where you say to yourself, I don't follow my feelings, I follow my mission. I don't obey comfort, I obey principle. I'm not driven by mood, I'm driven by purpose. That shift is everything. That mindset is the gate between average and exceptional. Destiny is not luck, it's not handed to you, it's not inherited, it is claimed. Day by day, hour by hour, decision by decision, and the first decision of every day is your test. The ones who rise, the ones who push, the ones who build their routine like a fortress. They're the ones who win. Not because life gave them more, but because they gave more to life. And it started in the morning with discipline. This isn't about being a morning person, it's about being a mission person. And if your mission is serious, if your dreams are real, then your discipline must be non-negotiable. Not once in a while, not when it's easy, every single morning. Because if you can't rule your morning, you won't rule your life. You don't need hype, you need habits. You don't need luck, you need repetition. You don't need more time, you need more focus. And all of it starts in the first hour of your day. That's where you decide who you are. That's where you shape your future. That's where destiny begins. Procrastination doesn't die because of pressure. It doesn't die because the deadline is near or the stakes are high. It dies when purpose wakes up, when a person is no longer willing to waste time, when they've decided that the life they want, the future they envision, is no longer up for negotiation. That's when hesitation ends. That's when excuses collapse. That's when movement becomes automatic. Because purpose doesn't wait. Procrastination is the disease of the unfocused. It feeds on doubt, comfort, and indecision. It thrives in minds that haven't chosen a direction. But when purpose shows up, there's no room for delay. Purpose brings clarity. It sharpens the vision. It raises the standard. It eliminates the need to feel like it. You don't ask for motivation when you're driven by purpose. You just move. You act. You attack. You execute, not because it's easy, but because it matters. People who procrastinate are not lazy. They're just unclear. They haven't decided what they're willing to suffer for. They haven't locked in on a target that demands their full effort. Purpose fixes that. Purpose is a fire that doesn't flicker when things get hard. It's the voice that says, this must get done now. It's not tied to convenience. It doesn't bend when you're tired. It doesn't fade when distractions call your name. It remains. And anything that remains becomes the force that shapes your identity. Purpose makes action non-negotiable. It takes the idea of later off the table. Because when you know who you are and what you're here to do, waiting is betrayal. Every second you delay, someone else is moving, someone else is building, someone else is grinding through what you're avoiding. And if your purpose is real, you refuse to let that happen. You don't need perfect timing, you need relentless urgency. You don't need more comfort, you need more conviction. People act like they have forever, they act like time is unlimited, but those who are purpose-driven know better. They treat every day like it's the opportunity it truly is. They don't drift, they don't coast, They attack the day because they know their destiny depends on it. That's what purpose does. It makes you dangerous to anything that slows you down. It kills procrastination before it even speaks. You don't outthink procrastination. You don't negotiate with it. You destroy it by doing what needs to be done before your brain has a chance to argue. Action silences doubt. Discipline silences delay. But it's purpose that gives those things teeth. Without purpose, discipline becomes a chore. With purpose, discipline becomes a weapon. The greatest power a person can have is to move without waiting for permission. And that power comes from being locked in on a mission that is bigger than your moods. Purpose is what wakes you up early without an alarm. It's what drives you to work when no one's watching. It's what pushes you past fear, past laziness, past resistance. When your reason is strong enough, your excuses get weak. When your why is clear, the how becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. Most people are caught in cycles of delay because they've never faced the truth about their time. They've never sat with the weight of how short life is. But the moment you do, everything changes. You realize you don't have the luxury of someday. You have now. You have today. And if you don't make the most of it, you'll watch your potential rot in the graveyard of almost. That's what procrastination wants. It wants you distracted, confused, passive. Purpose crushes all of that. Purpose gives you vision. It gives you structure. It gives you edge. You don't drift into greatness. You don't stumble into achievement. You decide, you declare, and then you do the work every day, no matter how you feel. That's how you kill procrastination, by doing the thing you've been avoiding while your heart is still pounding, while your doubts are still screaming. You move through the resistance until it breaks, and you do it again tomorrow and the next day until procrastination has no place to stand. You don't need more time. You need more truth. And the truth is this. Every second you delay is a second you could have been building the life you want. Every excuse is a brick in the wall between you and your future. And if you don't tear that wall down, no one else will. Purpose is the hammer. Purpose is the tool. Purpose is the voice that says, this is what I was born to do, and I'm not wasting another minute. You can't fake purpose. You can't borrow it. You must find it. You must choose it. And once you do, you must protect it with everything you've got. Because once your purpose wakes up, the old version of you, the one who delays, who doubts, who hides, can't survive. That version dies, and in its place rises someone relentless, someone focused, someone untouchable, someone who no longer puts things off because their destiny won't wait. There is no middle ground. Either you own the morning or the morning owns you. That first hour sets the tone for everything that follows. It is the moment where winners separate themselves from the weak. It's not about being a morning person, it's about being a disciplined person. If you let the first part of your day slide, you've already told yourself that excuses are allowed. And the moment you start entertaining excuses, you've surrendered the steering wheel of your life. The morning is where champions are built, not in front of the crowd, not under the lights, but in the dark, in the quiet, when the bed is warm and the world is asleep. That's where the war begins. And it's not a war against the clock. It's a war against your own weakness. That lazy voice that tells you 5 more minutes that no one will know, that it's not a big deal. But it is a big deal. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you can't beat yourself in the morning, what makes you think you'll have the strength to beat the world during the day? Owning the morning is not a motivational slogan. It's a requirement. Because the world doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care how tired you are, how long your day was, or what your excuse is. Life will reward you for results, not reasons. So you either wake up and get after it, or you roll over and give up control. One leads to progress, the other leads to regret. Excuses are always available. They are always easy. They sound reasonable. They sound logical. But they are nothing more than the chains that keep you average. And the most dangerous ones don't sound like lies. They sound like comfort. You deserve rest. You need more sleep. You'll do it later. That voice wants to keep you soft, and the longer you listen, the further you drift from who you could be. But when you take charge of the morning, you crush that voice. You silence it by taking action before it even opens its mouth. Owning the morning means starting your day with intention, with clarity, with power. You don't check your phone. You don't scroll. You don't react. You lead. You move. You create. Because that's what leaders do. They lead themselves before they lead anyone else. And leadership starts before sunrise. If you want to lead a life that's different, you need to move differently. And that begins the moment your eyes open. Those who own the morning are the ones who win the day. It's not because their lives are easier, it's because they've trained themselves to stop negotiating with weakness. They don't make decisions based on how they feel, they make decisions based on who they're becoming. And the person they're becoming doesn't hit snooze. The person they're becoming doesn't make excuses. They show up. They get after it. They stack wins before most people even get out of bed. Discipline is built in the morning. Confidence is built in the morning. Mental toughness is built in the morning, because that's when it's hardest. That's when you'd rather do anything else, but every time you choose action over comfort, you get stronger. You earn trust with yourself, and that trust becomes the foundation of your success. You don't need more motivation. You need more self-respect. You need to become the kind of person who does what needs to be done no matter what. People waste their mornings, then wonder why the rest of their day falls apart. They start in chaos, in distraction, in delay. Then they chase their tail for the next 12 hours. But when you own the morning, you walk into the day with momentum. You've already won. You've already moved. You've already conquered the hardest part. And now everything else is just execution. There is no excuse that will build your legacy. There is no justification that will build your body, your mind, your business, your life. Only discipline will. Only consistency will. And that consistency has a starting point. Every single day, that starting point is the morning. Miss it, and you miss the chance to dominate. Miss it, and you're already playing from behind. Miss it, and your excuses are already in control. You can't fake discipline. You can't fake intention. You either live it or you don't. And the world knows the difference. Your results know the difference. The scoreboard never lies. And if you don't like the score, change how you start the game. Don't wait for someone to push you. Don't wait for the mood to strike. Get up and become a force before the day has a chance to pull you in every direction. Owning the morning is the act of taking full responsibility for your life. It's the decision to rise instead of hide, to build instead of postpone, to fight instead of fold. The alarm clock is not the enemy, it's the invitation. And your response determines everything. Either you own that moment or that moment owns you. Either you rise or you stay stuck. Either you conquer or you make another excuse. But know this, the day doesn't care about your reason. Only you do. And if you keep choosing excuses over action, you'll spend your life explaining why you never became what you could have been. So decide right now who you are. Are you the one who rises with purpose? Who takes command before the world even wakes? Who leads with discipline? Who builds without applause? Or are you the one who waits? Who delays? Who lets comfort win? Who lives beneath their potential and calls it normal? You don't get to control everything in life, but you control how you start your day, and that choice every single morning is either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. Own the morning and you own your focus. Own the morning and you own your time. Own the morning and you own your future. Because once you kill your excuses at sunrise, nothing can stop you before sunset.